Hey everybody, so it's your boy Seiji here, and we are trying something a little bit new here at High Noon. If you can see, you're gonna watch some of my Spider-Man gameplay. I'm just doing some side quests while we read some Reddit stories. And we're gonna learn a little bit and try to apply some High Noon principles in some complicated situations. So let's get right into it, huh? So this first story is, am I the a-hole? I told my mom I went downstairs for food, not a life lesson. So they write, my mom's boyfriend has been coming over more often recently and we don't have the best relationship. Firstly, because they dated before meeting my dad and now they're dating after the divorce. This just made me a bit skeptical. I think it would make me skeptical too. Yeah. For the actual story part, he was over like 30 minutes ago and I went downstairs, not really knowing he was there, but I was starving. As I went down, he said good morning, so I said it back and I went to the kitchen. After I came back with some Oreos, not really important, he tried starting up a random conversation about cell phones and how I wouldn't understand, and I am on it too much. So I told my mom I was going back to my room, but my mom's boyfriend didn't really care and kept saying how when I was in junior year, this attitude wouldn't work out and how I'm going to get into fights. I don't know why, but that pulled a nerve. So I told my mom that I wasn't downstairs to have a life lesson, but for food. And so she took my phone and called me an a-hole. Mom, what the heck? What kind of response is that? I mean, maybe you had an attitude, but okay. This is an edit, so an extra tidbit of information. My dad does pay the child support, which makes me more pissed. He makes significantly less. I see him every weekend, but I will take your suggestions on the way I speak with mom's boyfriend when he is over. But it's not like he's moved in, he's just there, and I have tried to reason with my mom when the relationship was recent because none of my siblings really like him. Okay, because it's changed and that we already have a dad who's present in our lives and he's a great dad given the situation he was put in. In my state, I can't ask for sole custody, so I'll just have to practice with saying, that's really interesting, but I have homework. Thanks for the recommendations, and the Oreos were great. Breakfast of Champions is Oreos. Yeah, dude, I think, okay, so just a couple things I wanted to say that really stuck out of this situation. First of all, opening up a conversation with criticism is not the best way to open up someone's heart. So mom's boyfriend opened up the conversation by talking about cell phones and then saying how you wouldn't understand because you're on it too much. Opening up with a criticism is just how else are you supposed to enjoy a conversation if you're just being criticized? Is the first way to get someone to close up and not want to talk to you. That's one of the biggest things that stood out to me with this story was that point. Anyway, so I could see why the OP original poster was kind of struck. And of course, there's some speaking up that this kid did with his mom, and his mom took his phone and called him an a-hole. Yeah, good job, mom. That was probably the worst thing you could have done. Not the worst, okay, but I mean, come on, there's so many better other things to, like, how to react to that. And there's so many better ways. For example, it's like, oh, what makes you say that? Or having the capacity to hear him out, like, what did he say? What made you upset? That kind of thing. Anyway, it's not a good relationship from the beginning. I mean, yeah, divorce is not easy for anybody. So if I was talking to OP, that makes sense. You're just being criticized for no reason because you don't want to listen to criticism. Yeah, makes sense why you don't want to listen, right? There's no life lesson here either. I don't know, maybe there isn't. Maybe there is, but it's not good life lesson from boyfriend. It's not like you want to listen to boyfriend's life lessons, right? I mean, there's a time and a place for that, and randomly is not the time or place to strike up a criticism conversation. Jeez. But yeah, just be cautious moving forward. I think be careful moving forward and try not to expect too much. If you're getting hurt from something, see like what that trigger is and why it hurts and why it's pulling a nerve. Try to be more aware and be grateful. In some ways, like it's hard to be, it's really hard being grateful in this situation. But if you are really nice to people, not like pushover, like just saying yes, but just kind and understanding, people really turn around. I've noticed that. People really sense when they're being a-holes and you respond in a really positive way. It's like it's completely killing any fire that they had with that a-holery. So it's not something you just have to accept the criticism, but it's probably something that's just going on inside themselves. It's like, especially if it comes out of nowhere and if it's like random. If it's like a serious talk, about you, there's usually some kind of preparation that goes into that, usually. All right, for our next story, is, am I the a-hole for bringing my own food to a family fest? 2 years ago, I discovered that gluten was one of my migraine triggers. So is sugar. The past 2 years have been a struggle to adapt my new eating habits to not get migraines, alongside with stress. I have a chronic migraine and it's been a hell for the past 15 years. I've tried so many prescriptions from my doctor, got scanned in my brain for blood clots, tried everything to ease my pain, to cold caps, Zoc relief, massage, cold bath, NADA. What's NADA? So NADA is basically like needling, acupuncture, and so on. But nothing ever really helped. Then 2 years ago, I went to a retreat weekend. The food they served were gluten and lactose free. I felt the very best I've been in a very, very long time. So when I get home, I studied recipes for gluten-free food. I went to my doctor's and they took a test to see if I was allergic to the gluten, but it showed negative, and she said that gluten could be one of my triggers to migraines. So searched for food with no gluten and began the new lifestyle. I also began to bring my own food to the family gatherings at birthdays and holidays. My mother-in-law got very offended and asked if I didn't like her food. Of course, that wasn't the case. I will admit that the first year was a struggle to adapt, and I did give in sometimes when I was offered a delicious cake with gluten and sugar. What can I say? I'm only human, and I've been used to regular food for 40 years. My husband and I have many times explained to our families what gluten does to me, but his family doesn't really get it. So I bring my own food, and sometimes it's 10 times more delicious that some of our family members wants a little taste. And then the last time we got to my father-in-law's birthday party, I saw that they had warmed some gluten-free buns, and I got so happy. But my mother-in-law was quick to say that they were not for me. It was for our niece, so her first grandchild. She's 24, my husband's niece. She had just found out she's allergic to gluten, and quote, if she eats gluten, it can get so bad that she can't have children. He applied. Okay. Luckily, I had my own gluten-free bread with me, and I just said, I'll just eat some of my own bread then. And my mother-in-law was quick to say that she'll warm some more buns for me with an irritated gesture. My husband heard it all and defended me by saying, oh, just because my wife is in her mid-40s and we're done having kids, then it's okay for her to eat gluten buns. He was so mad, and I was so sad that they didn't take me very seriously for my health. So am I the a-hole to bring my own food? Don't get me wrong, I do love my in-laws and they love me, but sometimes they can be a little too much. Okay, yeah. Community says not the a-hole. I agree. This is something in your control that you're doing. And mother-in-law got upset by that. Anyway, it seems like mother-in-law takes things a little bit too personally. One of the things that stuck out to me was the bun incident, with how mother-in-law reacted very quickly to saying that that's not for her. And I guess that's fine, but I'm just imagining OP's situation. And like, just, oh, I'm having really big trouble with gluten and sugar. And so I've explained this to my family, my in-laws many times. Next time at the family gathering, there's gluten-free buns. Kind of automatically I can understand, like, oh, they care about me. And then suddenly mother-in-law steps in and says, no, we don't care about you. These are not for you. That's rough, to say the least, because, right, it's disappointing. And like in that situation, I would be disappointed. You finally care about me. And then it's like, no, we don't. This is not for you. Then mother-in-law gets the answer that OP said. She had her own bun, so it's no problem. Okay. Like, it could have been over there. And then she said, fine. Okay, she didn't say this, but it seems like she was irritated, saying that I will warm more buns. Irritated. What the heck? Is this something to be irritated about? And I think just understanding maybe perspective that mother-in-law might be really sensitive to personal attacks, or what's the word I'm looking for? Taking things personally. Sensitive to taking things personally. Yeah, not being stuck. I don't know. There's nothing OP could do in that situation. So just, she's not the a-hole to bring your own food. There's always some trouble or some drama a little bit here and there that happens. And yeah, it's common. Especially when, the people close to us that we expect to really have our back, they don't. And it really sucks. And for that situation, I just have to say, like, for mother-in-law, yeah, being irritated from something that's really important to someone else. Like, we teach living for the sake of others, right? Now, maybe some people take it to a very extreme extent, but in this situation, right, like, just simply thinking about someone, like, especially if they have a specific need, right? that concerns their health. It would make someone feel so loved, right? Your daughter-in-law feels so loved to be cared for. The kind of person that I want to be is, like very curious and honest and sincere, caring. I say this, and I know that it's gonna be hard, and I'm gonna make mistakes. But this is just something that, like, if it happens, I would be so quick to apologize because I know that I was wrong to not think about somebody. Very simply, that's just what I would do. OP is not in the wrong here at all. It sounds like mother-in-law takes things way too personally. Yeah, I don't know. It all goes back to like how loved you are and how loving you are, right? How happy we are as people. You just like those types of people who are loving and happy are really good people generally. Quick to think about other people and consider their situation. Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's just, and this doesn't seem to be like a regular instance. He does say at the end, that's like, don't get me wrong, I love my in-laws and they love me, but sometimes they can be a little bit too much. So I get it. And it's just these situations where if OP kind of gets the chance to really deeply understand like what's going on in the heart of mother-in-law, dude, like I think mother-in-law would be won over completely. And we talk about like winning people over, winning their hearts. I don't know if you've heard some of true parents' testimonies, or there's a lot of cases where true parents, and especially like we hear about true father, like winning the hearts of people who really did not like him. And I'm sure it's the same with true mother too. If you really understand and love your mother-in-law, but still doing what you need to do with your health, finding a way to do that, you will win at life and your mother-in-law's heart. It's not technically our responsibility to be like to apologize, but to always like be loving. Like there's no way you can go wrong with that. Okay. All right. We have time for one more. So this one's a little interesting. So let's get into it. Am I the a-hole for wanting to play video games? I wanted to post this for some time to get some opinions. So here it goes. People involved here are Jay, which is my roommate, and Kay, it's Jay's fiance at the time, and then myself. Okay. Now this story takes place more than 10 years ago when I was 21. Okay, old story. I had just got a new job and I met Jay at the orientation. While there, we hit it off and became friends. Afterwards, he invited me back to his apartment where I met his, at the time, fiance. We all became good friends. After a few months, they asked me to move in with them. They had a second room and thought it would be fun. I said yes and moved in within the month. When I did, set a few ground rules. Number 1 is bills first, then fun things. Number 2 is someone buys food for themselves and no eating without asking first. Otherwise, all food bought is shared for the whole apartment. And number 3 is all bills are split between all 3 of us fairly. After living with them for a few months and having some good times, we decided we wanted a game console to play together on. We decided on an Xbox 360, but we couldn't buy one at the time. So we went to a rent-a-center and rented one with a big flat screen and a couch. After about a month, the electric bill went up big time. Come to find out that on the nights where Jay didn't work the next day, he would stay up late gaming till nearly 5 a.m., then spend the whole day while me and Kay were at work. So when they asked me to pay even more towards the electric bill, which nearly doubled, I said no. I was nearly flat broke after paying bills toward the apartment and personal one like for car payments and the insurance on it. So as punishment on my day off, Jay and Kay took the power cord to the Xbox and hid it before leaving to go out with the family for the day. More than a little, I went into their room and found the power cord in his top drawer. His is all caps, so his top drawer. I think maybe to give off the point that he's not snooping. I took it and played some Xbox. When Jay and Kay found out they were pissed, I went snooping in their room and kicked me out, saying they could no longer trust me. So I gathered my things and I went and moved back to my parents. So I have 2 questions. Number 1 is, am I the a-hole for not paying a third the electric bill that I didn't raise? Number 2 is, am I the a-hole for going into the room and getting the power cord? Okay, and then he adds more context into this because I think people are labeling him the a-hole. The bill only increased after we got the Xbox and TV. Keep in mind, this was years ago. Big screens were electric gobbling machines. That, and it was every night he gamed. Not just a little bit, a few nights a week. He gamed every night. Interesting. I didn't go in their room every day. I went in there one time to get a power cord to a device I was paying for that they took upon themselves to hide without talking to me about it first. I never went in their room after that. Thank you so much for the already insightful feedback. Okay. 10 years ago. So I don't know how electricity works 10 years ago, or not works, but it always works the same way, right? But with how much electricity an Xbox 360 used and a TV used, I mean, if he's gaming every night till 5 a.m., first of all, dude, Jay's got to get his life together. Okay, not like it's wrong to be gaming till 5 a.m., but it seems like that's pretty unsustainable. And I don't know what their situation was at the time. Maybe he really could, but that's a lot of time on the console. What is he playing? It must have been really fun. I kind of want to know what he was playing. Anyway, people labeled this guy the a-hole, and definitely going into your roommate's room who has a fiance, right, boy and girl, going into their room, it's pretty trust breaking, and honestly I feel like everyone could be a little bit better here. So first of all, one, being a good roommate. So I think this applies more to the OP. Being a good roommate means following up on the commitments you made to live together with your peeps, or at least to communicate, right? So he said he was flat broke and he couldn't do anything with the money that he had, and he didn't feel responsible for the increase in the payment, especially for the electricity. Anyway, it could be a lot of different things. A game console, I'm not sure how much more of an electric gobbling machine it was, but like, this is just a couple months, and one of the big things that I really think it might be is probably AC. It could have been summertime, and the AC just happened to be on. Maybe because he was gaming more, the AC was on longer or more strongly, or just on 24/7. I don't know about apartments. Having central air versus air conditioning units like in each room. But if you really couldn't afford to live there, then honestly, that's probably not the place for you to live anyways. So be grateful they kicked you out. Learning how to be a good roommate really sets you up for an amazing marriage. Because not only are you a good roommate, but you can also be a good partner, right? And yeah, number one thing is communication. It seemed like there was a lack of communication from both sides that led up to this unfortunate happening 10 years ago. But I would definitely say that the biggest concern is just no communication. They hid the power cord to the Xbox that they technically were all sharing, right? Yeah. Anyway, it takes a lot of understanding. So maybe there's nothing we can do. This was 10 years ago. Oh, he's probably over it. At least concerning what we can learn from it is that really communication is key, and being honest. I don't know if this guy said I'm flat broke, but if he was really really broke, then that would be a different situation where maybe they could support each other. Also, conflict is amazing. It can be amazing only if you handle it correctly. Otherwise it's pretty miserable. So what I'm talking about is being able to overcome conflict and face conflict and go through it properly, and then at the end of that conflict tunnel, you can see the light and you make it to the light. I will tell you that every conflict I've had with everybody in my life that we've been able to talk out, I've felt closer to them 100% of the time. There was no situation where running away from the conflict would have been a better solution. So I just really encourage you, especially if it's a difficult situation. It takes a lot of preparation, maybe a lot of moments where we need to calm down, but to genuinely understand, come out of the conflict genuinely understanding each other is an amazing experience that I suggest people try. Yeah, no blaming, but really seeking to understand. That's how you can get through conflict really well. And yeah, I will say guaranteed 100% of the time that if you make it through conflict like that, you will feel closer to the person. All right. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you, everybody, for joining on this episode of Reading Reddit with Seiji while playing Spider-Man. I hope you enjoyed this, and please, in the comments, let us know how it was, if it was enjoyable, if we should change anything, if you want me to play a different game. I hope you had a good time, and yeah, peace out.